Mm.
Howdy, neighbor. Howdy doodly. It's a wonderful day in the neighborhood, a wonderful day for a live stream. Would you be mine? Would you be mine? I'm considering just using these occasionally as an opportunity to record some content, because it's not like I can't chop these up and turn them into something, you know? Hello from New York City. Hello. Remember that time you told me you streamed to thousands of people? Look at this. I'm the only viewer, maybe the one other person. The stream started 2 minutes ago, friend. Just wait a few minutes. The attention you so desperately crave will be here. And you know what I remember even better than all those times is the number of times that you've come in here refuting that, despite the fact that my views literally show that I do. Damn it. I have to turn my Wi-Fi off. Anyway, I don't even know why I'm bothering with this person, dude. Whatever. I don't get to say. Think you're beneath notice to me. Anybody want to start liking up the stream and fucking get some people in here so we can prove douchebag in the chung? That'll be really cool. Plus, I like to have a couple of hundred people listening when we start talking politics. It's always a good time. I'm an inspiration? I don't know about that. I'm probably an inspiration to do something. I'm trans but still afraid of getting bullied. Well, honestly, let me ask you this. Do you get bullied in your current life? Because the answer is probably yeah. Probably by somebody, right? Like, there's probably somebody who doesn't like you. The reality of it is, yeah, are you going to have more people that are going to take issue with you if you're trans openly? Yeah. But, like, number one, you're not ever going to get away from people who are going to judge you for whatever you are, even if you are perfectly cisgender and straight. And two, the self-worth that you feel from being yourself and living authentically is worth way more than any kind of social rejection from bigoted morons who, by the way, are no indication of quality in your friend group anyway. You shouldn't, like, those kinds of people deserve to be rejected. They deserve to be pushed to the margins. They deserve to be not given the opportunity to have cool friend groups, you know? Because, like, they're the ones that are choosing to be so exclusionary to other people. Switch to all chat so I can see everybody, so we can see the people as they arrive. What are we discussing today? I don't know yet. I mean, I do kind of know. I know the first thing I want to go over is this Epstein bill. But I'm waiting for, I'm waiting for the viewers to get somewhere like 50 to 75 before we start going over that. Um, the best way you can help with that, by the way, is hitting that like button, doing the share thing. That also helps. Just get the word out there, hit the like button, do those, all of the normal things you hear all the YouTubers telling you to do, just do that and it'll be great. Did you watch UFC this weekend? Nope. Sure didn't. Sure didn't. Crazy how nobody cared about releasing the files before Trump came in. Crazy how Republicans are just rewriting history when it comes to the Epstein files. Because I don't know about you, but I've wanted the Epstein files released since 2019. So don't tell me what I didn't care about. Because me and plenty of other people on the left have been pointing out the Epstein files. And not only that, dude, back when Biden was in office, dude, the right loved to use the Epstein files. The right loved to use the Epstein files as some kind of like reputational damage attempt towards Democrats, liberals, and anybody affiliated with them or adjacent to them. But the reality of it is you guys don't care about the Epstein files. The only reason why this Epstein bill is being passed now is because Trump himself has literally come out and said, okay, Republicans, you can vote to release the Epstein files. So they've received their orders from their cult leader, and they can now continue going about the business of the American people and releasing these files. And it probably took them so long, because let's keep in mind, he's been president for almost a year now, and it probably took so long because he's been redacting the files, finding ways to expunge certain things from the files, editing the files. Who knows? I tell you what we will know. We'll know when these files are released. Certain names will be conspicuous in their absence if they aren't there. Certain names are just going to be conspicuous in their absence if they're not there, especially if certain names are there. So, if, for example, we know for a fact Trump had a very close association with Jeffrey Epstein for a very long time. So, if Trump's name is just absent from those files, we know something's up. We know something's fishy. Especially if Bill Clinton's name is still all over him. Not that I have any problem with Bill Clinton getting sent up for whatever he did. That's not the point. The point is to demonstrate how partisan Trump is. The point is to demonstrate that he is just the Republican Party's latest demagogue. He is just the Republican Party's latest billionaire fucking demagogue sent to turn people's passion and genuine interest in change into right-wing vitriol, bigotry, toxicity, violence, etc. Into right-wing Nazi fascist bullshit. Power Strokes suck ass, get a new truck. Yeah, how about that, Power Strokes? Yeah, dude, I'm so unpopular that I literally have randoms from chat that are backing me up and fucking on you. So how about that? Isn't that beautiful? I'm not even responding to you anymore, Power Stroke, and you still got people in chat shitting on you. Is this a girl turning to in a man, or I'm a male to female trans woman, if that's what you're asking. I'm MTF. I think that's what you're asking. I think. I'm trying my best. It is strange to me though, because like for me personally, maybe it's just because I am trans, but I never I don't think I've ever seen a trans person that I was confused about like what direction they were trans from, you know? Like, there've definitely been trans people I didn't know they were trans until they told me, but, like, whenever a trans person tells me that they're trans, it's not like, I don't know. Is it like some variety of gaydar that some people just don't have access to? That's the only thing I can imagine. By the way, hit that like button. It really does help. Every single time you hit that like button, it's a chance to send the stream out to even more people, which increases the quality of your viewing pleasure, makes you people engage in the chat. So please do so now if you haven't done so already. I do appreciate it. It is a cost-free way to help the stream and help the channel. But what is not a cost-free way to help the stream and help the channel is to send in a super chat or join the membership. The more members we get, the more likely I am to start doing some of these members-only streams that have been pimping for so long. We keep hovering around 45. We just need like 5 to 6 to 7, depending on the day, new members to hit that 50 goal and do you guys some members-only streams. So please consider doing that. You can't even spell delusional. I'm not going to have an argument with you about gender politics when you can't even spell. You have a 4th grade reading level. Why would I talk to you about politics? When you read and write at a 4th grade level, why should I take your word seriously? To me, you're functionally a child. A Ford F-Series is basically a Ridgeline. Oh, come on. That's a little harsh, isn't it? It's a Ridgeline? Don't you think that's a bit mean to the Ridgelines? Come on, those are really those are comfortable trucks, man. I know they're not that useful for truck stuff, but as far as comfort goes, good luck finding a more comfortable ride in a truck. Good luck finding more amenities and cool shit in a truck. Your cosplay of a woman is terrible. It's not a cosplay if I've been living this way for 5.5 years and I am this like person in my everyday life. So I will be right back, y'all. Yeah. Okay. Oh, alrighty. Well, now we've got a decent amount of viewership here at least. So, what does everybody think about those Epstein files? I know what I think. I think that after a year of kicking the can and making excuses and calling it a Democratic hoax, Trump has finally flipped on the Epstein files and allowed the Republicans to flip on the Epstein files because he recognizes on some fundamental level that if his government doesn't do it, some hacking organization is going to do it, some insider is going to leak it. It's going to happen. The public pressure is too great. The campaign has been successful. My friends, the campaign has been successful. The campaign has been successful, and therefore, we are about to see a real fucking shakeup in America as long as every one of us who's been saying that we care about the Epstein files, we need to hold our politicians to account. Whether they're Republicans or Democrats, we need to hold them to account for being involved at such a high level in such profound corruption, in such harmful fucking corruption. It's not just the normal corporate lobbying kind of corruption that goes on every day on Capitol Hill. This is next level childhood sexual abuse kind of corruption. This needs to be dealt with. We need to hold our politicians to account for this. No mercy. We need to have no electoral mercy when it comes for these people. We need to make sure that they are not allowed to continue governing us as if they have any right to govern us when they are completely immoral, completely amoral, when they are so deeply corrupt. Now, the truth of it is, they've been deeply corrupt for a long time, and it's been fucking up our lives for a long time. But I think that the Jeffrey Epstein files could be the first step to really invigorating some real class consciousness in Americans, to really reminding us what we have in common and what those people have in common, and that our interests don't align, they oppose. You're fine as fuck. Well, thanks. I don't really think so, but what about all the Jews that were in Epstein Island? You think I give a fuck about somebody's religious affiliation when it comes to their association with Epstein? No. And by the way, Jews is a little bit fucking dude. I hate this anti-Semitic garbage. Was okay? You understand that the state of Israel and the Jewish people are a different thing, right? So was Epstein Mossad? Almost certainly. Was he working for the state of Israel? And maybe as part of this compromise operation? Probably. No, that's probable. But does that mean that every Jewish person who had an association with Epstein is involved in shady shit? No. Just like the fact that Epstein being a financier and a bunch of other shit means that not every single person who ever talked to Jeffrey Epstein was in fact a child rapist. I know, crazy, right? That's one of the reasons why the Epstein files have been so critical. Everybody wants to know. We know who was on the flights. We know who had associations with Jeffrey Epstein. But what we don't know is who knew about this childhood sex trafficking ring. Who knew? Who the fuck knew? How many people were going down to Little St. John's to have sex with minors? And how many people were going down to Little St. John's to engage in some kind of financial transaction with Jeffrey Epstein that was, illegal in some way, but not necessarily immoral to the same degree? Some kind of shady land dealing or some kind of above board fucking the working class type of land dealing or transaction. Plenty of people transacted with Jeffrey Epstein in a way that was not related to his pedophilia and all of his weird sexual deviancy. But plenty of people did. Plenty of people did. Those Epsteins indicate that Trump knew. Those emails, the Epstein emails we got, indicate that Trump knew. Not only did Trump know, but apparently, Melania was trying to get them to stop it. It's not clear exactly 100% what she was trying to stop, whether it was the poaching of girls from Mar-a-Lago or the general sex trafficking thing. It's kind of hard to know. But it indicates a high level of knowledge and involvement on Trump's part. And he's not the only president. He's not the only fucking powerful person either who is indicted in some way by these files and indicted in some way by just the emails that we've already seen. We haven't even seen the files yet. We have seen the emails. And those emails indicate a long, lurid history of corruption and internal dealing. It also reveals, by the way, the stupidity of the billionaire bourgeoisie class. Because if you look through these emails, dude, none of these motherfuckers knew how to type or spell. You would think, right? If you just thought about it from just your immediate surface level brain, you would think, oh, rich people, they're probably well educated because they can afford the best schools. No. When you're rich, you can afford to get whatever grade you want in school. And so if your parents don't make you try, then there's no reason for you to try. And if no one's holding you to an account, if you have enough money, it doesn't matter how you talk, how you type, or anything else. What matters is, are you giving the right people the right money? Are you extracting the right amount of money from the system, etc.? Outside of that, there's no fucking reason, right? So outside of some kind of influence from your overall life, outside of some kind of influence from the fact that you're a working class person or somebody who's expected to make it on their own merits or something like that, there's really no incentive for somebody to know how to type, to know how to spell, to know how to write. And so if you read these emails, be prepared to be entertained by how stupid some of these people are, or at least how stupid they seem if their typing skill and writing skill is any any basis to judge them upon. Are you pregnant, dude? Nope. You voted for Trump? Nope. I voted for the great big N. Nobody. By the way, make sure you guys hit that like button. I haven't pimped it very much this stream, but I keep looking at the likes, expecting them to go up somewhere, but I'm not seeing it today. So please hit that like button if you are enjoying the stream. And if you've been sitting around for 26 minutes, you like the stream. You've been having fun. So admit it to yourself and hit that like button. It is a great way to send the stream out to even more people, which increases the quality of your viewing, by increasing the number of people who engage in the chat. And also, chat moves pretty quickly, you might have noticed. So if you really want to make sure your topic gets discussed, consider sending a super chat. Or attaching it in the notes to a Cash App donation, which you can find in my channel description. Either way is the best way to get your comment read or answered, to make your voice part of the discourse. Because frankly, chat goes by way too quickly for me to catch everybody's questions. And super chats, I can always pull those back up. They're in one nice, convenient list. Maybe get a job. Oh, I have a job. This is my job. I get that you don't like it because you're bitter that you have to work for somebody else and make them rich, but that doesn't mean that this is not considered employment. Sorry. Sorry about that. I know it's a bitter pill to swallow. Trust me, I swallowed it for many years. But then I, started making content and started making a business out of my channel and grew in charisma and following. And, at this point, I make about what I'd make at a part-time job doing this. So, considering I went from making nothing on this platform to making almost as much as I would, if not more than I would, at a part-time job, I think I'm going to keep doing this. Yeah, think I'm going to keep doing this. Think I'm going to keep working the bit. Trump lost to Biden? Yeah, well, after 4 years of Biden, anybody would wait, did you say Trump lost to Biden? Yeah, I mean, he did. He did in the first run. I thought you were talking about 2024. I was like, wait a minute, what? Number one, Biden wasn't even the one who ran in the end. No, yeah, Trump lost to Biden in 2020. And that's because the American people, dude, a lot of people who vote are very subject to the pendulum theory. And so if Republicans aren't making their lives better, they're not going to give them another 4 years. And if the Democrats aren't making their lives better, they're not going to give them another 4 years. That's why Obama got 8 years, is because despite all the things he did when it came to foreign policy, despite all the campaign promises he broke, despite how the healthcare system he helped to implement was not the one he promised on his campaign trail, despite all that, he still made people's lives better here in America. And so he won another 4 years. Simple as that. Trump didn't make enough people's lives better, 2016 to 2020. If it had made some critical difference, maybe. Honestly, you know what? If the pandemic hadn't happened, I think Trump would have won. If the pandemic hadn't happened and he hadn't politicized the vaccine and the masks and everything else so hard, I think he would have won in 2020. I actually think his decision to politicize all that was the worst thing he could have done. I think he could have ran as a more sensible president than he ran as in 2016 and easily defeated Biden. Easily. It was because he was so clearly trying to take the right wing and take the Republican Party down this hardcore fascist authoritarian road. It was clearly because he was leaning so hard in this anti-science shit that he lost the 2020 election. And it was because the fucking Democrats didn't do enough for people's economic conditions between 2020 and 2024 that they lost the fucking 2024 elections. All of these things have very clear and definable predictors. There hasn't been a single shakeup in American politics in a long time. Make America gay again? I'd be down for that. Let's make America gay again, y'all. Like the stream, by the way. Come on. How many times do I have to pimp it? This is wild. You need Yahweh. Whatever, dude. Have fun worshiping your dirt saint. Have fun worshiping your dirt saint. Sorry for asking, are you a man or a woman? I'm a woman. Trump's gay, it sounds like. I mean, he sounds like he's like maybe bi. Yeah. Ask Putin if he's got any pictures of Trump blowing What does that mean? Like, what did that mean? Can I ask? I'm just curious. Like really, for real though, like what did that mean? You're a woman in whose eyes? My eyes. And that's really the only eyes that matter, but plenty of other people's eyes as well. Let me make the chat a little bit more readable by slowing down just a little bit. This should make most of the spammers, trolls, and various people who don't want to contribute to the actual conversation unable to participate, and should enable us to just see people who are actually interested in having a conversation, and trolls who are willing to put a little skin in the game, which is also nice. At the very least, you're hitting that subscribe button. At the very least, you're telling YouTube to send more people my way. You're trans? Yeah. Are you okay with trans and women's sports? I mean, like, yeah, I don't really care, but like, honestly, I've heard a lot of people suggest, like, why not a co-ed league? And I think that would be perfectly fine too, honestly. A co-ed league that can hire trans people, just like natively, that would be great. Do moobs count as boobs? I wouldn't know. I don't have any. You know, like, these are tits, so. Thank you for the slapping eel, or the clapping steel. The slapping keel, dude. Dude, that was great. Thank you for the clapping seal. Or the slapping keel, or whatever it is. So why do you think you're trans? Like, completely respectful, not sarcastic question. What do you mean, why do I think I'm trans? Because I felt like, I lived as a man for the first 21 years of my life, and I felt like a complete alien the whole time. And once I started telling people my new name, once I started dressing authentically and living authentically, I didn't feel that way anymore. Suddenly I felt myself. Suddenly I could look in a mirror and be like, oh, okay, that's what I look like. Nice. I mean, unless I just look particularly egregious that day, but whatever. Everybody goes through that. Everybody has a bad hair day, but I don't, recoil from my image in the mirror anymore. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I'm not trying to pretend to be something else. I'm living authentically. I use that phrase a lot because I think that really is the best way to describe what a trans person is choosing to do by coming out and transitioning. So is it a confidence thing? I mean, it's tied to self-confidence, sure. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're born male and you get like a way higher degree of confidence from dressing as a woman and being known as a woman, then you're probably a trans woman, Just in my opinion. I guess I'm not an expert, but how do you get paid from YouTube? Is it the amount of subscribers you get? No, so this is an entirely viewer-supported channel. So donations, memberships, things like that. I do have watch page ads and shit like that on certain videos, but I don't monetize my streams in that way usually. I mean, I kind of do, but I kind of don't. A lot of them don't qualify for monetization because I talked about too many controversial things. So I pretty much exclusively rely on audience support. So if somebody likes the format that we provide here, an interesting place to hear political and news and religious and whatever else kind of discussions from all across the political spectrum, a place where you can argue with the streamer and not be banned for having like completely stupid opinions, as long as you're providing them in a legible way. People that like that mission, people that like my personality, people that like what we do over here, contribute in the form of super chats or by joining the membership, whereby you can see my lower viewed streams as well as um, the members only live streams that I'm going to be starting up as soon as we get to 50 members. As soon as we get to 50 members. We are not that far away either. We are within like 7 or 8. More or less, you get most from donations. Yes, 100%. Yes, like I said, viewer supported. Can I read your comment from a minute ago? No, I'm sorry. I don't scroll up. If you have something you really, really, really just have to get me to read, you can either repeat it or super chat it. Do you play guitar? Yes. If so, what do you like to play? Like folk punk, pretty much. I don't know, folk punk, early 2000s indie kind of stuff. A little bit of alternative, a little bit of grunge, a little bit of 80s shit. I don't know. I play a little bit of everything. Gender and sex are not the same. It's that easy. It is that easy. It really is that easy. It is that easy to make the distinction, but some people have a narrative reason why they don't want that distinction made. They have some narrative reason why that distinction can't be made, because their entire life is predicated on them hating trans people, among a number of other stupid opinions they have to hold. So many people, in my opinion, are unwilling to come over on social issues because whatever strong personality is in their life is going to have a fucking conniption fit if they decide to do that, right? Men that don't want to go over to the left because their wives are super conservative and they're afraid she's going to fucking freak out and flip out if they start trying to, go the other way. And women who have it the exact opposite way, who their husbands are super conservative. They're afraid to display any kind of left-wing tendencies because they don't want to be yelled at or that turn into a fight or anything like that. I really do think that a lot of people's personal circumstances and a lot of these like a lot of the oppressive systems that I oppose with my activism, I think lead to people being able to be less honest with themselves and, leading to them having to predicate a lot of their life on their social situation. Like, for example, if we had a really abundant social safety net in this country, I guarantee you there would be more people being honest about their politics. And I guarantee you that would lead to a greater degree of people who are openly leftist. It is exclusively through fucking family dynamics, friendships, social relationships, and shit like that that people are so afraid to be themselves, ultimately. And I'm not saying we need to reduce those things either. I'm saying that we need to give people a society, not really give people a society, but we need to collectively build, all of us, a society that makes people feel ultimately comfortable with being themselves as long as it's not hurting anybody else. That's one of the fundamental things that's supposed to be fundamental to America. But for some reason, that sentiment has kind of died off in recent years. Do you believe a trans person can give birth? I'm just curious how you think about it. I mean, a trans man definitely can. A trans woman can't. I mean, maybe at some point they'll have like, um, what is it called? What is it called when you get like a donor organ from somebody else? A transplant. Maybe someday they'll be able to do like uterine transplants and things like that. But for now, no, a trans woman can't give birth. A trans man can, obviously, as long as they've got their uterus and their vagina and everything still. How do you feel about maps? I feel like we should probably just call them pedophiles. I feel like it's a weird fucking thing that people are... Dude, anytime somebody says maps, I just feel like, oh, spotted the fucking terminally online person. Spotted the terminally online one. Do you think the U.S. should break up like the Beatles? New countries form from the old ones, but still under military pact. Mm, no. No, I don't. And actually, I really want to have an argument with Paul Zigo about this because he has been touting this like national divorce line, and I just think it's kind of silly. I get it. There's lots of people that are talking about it, but it's a political non-starter. Dude, the countries, let's just start off there, right? Number one, it's a political non-starter. It's literally a fucking non-starter of an idea because I do think that the elites of this country and the people in power would implement better policies if the people demanded it. But I think that it would take an even bigger movement of people to get them to split up the United States. Because unless they did that in a very specific way, it's going to lead to massive fucking problems that are going to lead to them making less money. And money is what drives this country ultimately. So if you are talking some kind of policy that seeks to jeopardize the amount of money American businesses, corporations, and people like that can make, that's a non-starter of an idea. It would have to be done in some way that would ensure economic cooperation throughout the states, which is basically what we've already got. That's a huge part of the reason why the federal government has the latitude that it does is the international trade clause, or not the interstate trade clause, or whatever. The idea that Congress has the right to regulate interstate trade. Could you do 5 push-ups? I could. I'm not gonna, but I could. It would never be agreed upon. Blue states give more federally, they would never agree to it. Well, no, the blue states would love to agree to it because the blue states would love to not have to send that money up the chain to have it deposited in Mississippi and Alabama and Louisiana and places like that to rebuild our coastlines and our fucking shuttered up houses after a tornado hits us, right? They would love to not have that responsibility or that obligation on their shoulders anymore, I'm sure. But the problem is the the states that aren't that way, the states that are reliant on that tax money, it's not like those states are empty of people. It's not like those states are empty of resources. And so if it's like those people are just not going to let that happen. I do not believe that the government or the people of the deep south are going to allow this apple cart to be overturned, you know? But that's the thing, right? What I'm actually advocating for instead is actually a lot more radical. I advocate for Reconstruction too. Fuck this national divorce shit. No, the South needs to be brought under the fold. You want to know why you have Donald Trump for president? Blame the Deep South and the Midwest. You want to know why there's been a shift towards right wing fundamental conservatism and shit like that? Look at the fucking Deep South and the Midwest. Yeah, I'm aware California produces a little bit of it, but you gotta know, I'm sorry to tell you, all of that shit is informed by cultural movements out of the South. It needs to be squashed. We need to be brought into the fold. I say we because I live in Mississippi. We need to be brought into the fold. Reconstruction was ended way too early, and there are still way too many fucking descendants of plantation owners in positions of power in this state. The federal government literally needs to go to every fucking deep South and Midwestern state and demand that they, well, basically literally just demand like new government. Nope, you guys we are literally, no, we're not taking over the state, but you guys have to you have to vote all new leaders in, and there's going to be federal oversight over your elections. There's going to be federal oversight over the processes as these people start their jobs. No more of this backroom dealing. No more stealing taxpayer dollars to build a big auditorium. No more stealing taxpayer dollars to fund your fucking neighbor's driveway. No more stealing taxpayer dollars to fund your personal little pet project to help you get elected next year. No more. Equilateral treatment. Equilateral help. Fuck the files, release the tapes. The tapes? Oh, dude. That would be even more wild. I mean, dude, they'll probably never release the tapes because the tapes would contain a bunch of fucking material you couldn't just let the public see, you know? That being said, it would be nice if they would release the tapes without any, victimizing information in there. If civil war breaks out, we're taking Washington State and fighting like Ukraine. Oh, jeez. Just a constant war of bloody attrition, you mean? Well, I don't know. I don't know if the Ukraine is exactly a place I'd want to be as a if I were to be drafted into a country's military and told I was getting sent to the Ukraine, I think I'd be pretty sad about it. Whether I was on the Russian side or the Ukrainian side. Dude, it's fucking World War One meets Modern Warfare 2 out there. You realize that? Like, you realize they got trenches and tanks and fucking like siege towers and shit and all that crazy shit they had back in World War One, and they've got drones and javelin missiles and shit like that. Can I state my opinion on the files? Yeah. I mean, we're here to hear we're here to hear people out, to discuss opinions, to have arguments. That's what we're here to do ultimately. That's just the way it is. Some things will never change. That's just the way it is. Alright. They're just making that up because they didn't understand science of gender and sex, so they default to, God said I didn't have to learn that. Yeah, dude. Literally. That is what a lot of religion is. It's an excuse. It's a narrative excuse to live your life in a specific way, usually, ironically, to support other narratives in your life, dude. That's once again, that's why I keep on fucking pushing this shit. It's just one of the many reasons why, is because when it comes to improving our social safety net and everything else, dude, that is the best way to get people broken of this awful system, because so many people, in my opinion, base their lives upon what they have to be in order to satisfy the people around them. Because if they're not that, they're kind of out on a limb, and nobody wants to be out on a limb in America. Nobody wants to be, absent any social connections or any kind of relationships or family. Nobody wants to be that way. And if you have some kind of political revelation, or if you have some kind of big thing to, like, if you big developments in your life, big evolutions in your life tend to generate new social groups and things like that. But it takes a while. And it fucking sometimes can deprive people of really fucking important resources. Sometimes it can actively harm their ability to continue living the way that they have been. And so, improving our social safety net would mean that people faced less risk with that kind of shit. I think that if we put out the files, we're going to find out that politicians were also doing what Epstein did. Well, yeah. I mean, Anaya, that's been the theory for years now. Because, like, that's the thing. I was talking about it earlier. Not everybody who was ever associated with Epstein was necessarily a child molester. Plenty of people who associated with him who had to at the very least be complicit in it, who had to know, right? It's too big a conspiracy. It involved too many powerful people, and it happened in the modern world. It happened in the last 20 years. There's too many records. There's too many files. There's too many people that know. There's too many people that know. There's too many people. It had to come out eventually. And the reason why it's so important that it comes out is because we have to correlate with all of Epstein's previous associations. Who was doing this horrible shit? Who was abusing children? Because right now, we just know who his associates were. We just know the people who were associating with him, or did transactions with him, or sought financing from him, or whatever. That's all we know right now. As of right now, we know a couple of his explicit associates when it comes to the fucking child sex trafficking ring. And we don't know much else outside of that. We know about Ghislaine Maxwell. We know about Prince Andrew. We know about a few other people, but we don't know about that many people. We only suspect. And the reason why we suspect is because as the trickles of information keep coming out, certain people begin to look more and more suspicious. Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, etc., etc. That poor horse. We don't know if it was a horse. It could have been Bill Clinton he was fucking blowing. It could have been a horse. It could have been, hell, it could have just been a random dude. What if it was just a random dude? You know, like Bubba is a name that I associate with big fat guys, big fat Southern guys specifically. So what if it was just some big fat Southern guy? How the fuck do people get this big? Like, actually, I mean, you say that like I'm boogie size, bro. I weigh 300 pounds. I weigh 300 pounds. I'm like 6'1", which is fat for sure. But it's not like, how did that person conceivably get that fat level? Not by a damn sight. That's just silly. I can still walk. I can still run without wobbling or waddling, either way. Getting there, though. Actually, it's the opposite. I've been losing weight over the last year. But thanks, though. Went from 345 to 307, which is the most weight I've lost in a long time. And I did it off of really not doing that much. I just stopped being a sedentary, added more hours of movement, you know, basically, like more hours where I'm making sure to plan to do something. Um, tried to stay on my feet more, you know, as much as I can stand, because I do have some pain issues and some joint problems with my feet and my knees. But, you know, on any day where I feel good, I try to fucking exercise as much as I can that day. Um, I drink a lot more water than I used to. Speaking of which, I have cotton mouth right now. It's from a fresh spring somewhere near the place where I live, and it's delicious. I usually don't comment, but I admire your courage to be yourself. Been loving the streams, by the way. Aw, thank you, Mark. That's actually really kind. I have noticed a lot of people that have been lurkers for a long time or have been watching for a while but haven't really commented, starting to comment in the chat and be like, hey, I've been watching for a while. You know, glad to see you in here. Glad to see that you're still doing this stuff after all this time. Excuse me. Sorry. And I'm always happy to see stuff like that because it's just like, oh, yay. You know? That explains why sometimes I'll have 20, 40, 50 people watching, but not a lot going on in the chat sometimes. Well, all liberals look like you? I wish all liberals were this hot. It's not suspect. I know I've seen a lot of paperwork that's on the dark web as Pet Injury. There's Tom Hanks. There's a lot of others. There's P. Diddy. Well, yeah, there's a whole. That's what I keep telling people, dude. Yes, and you're not wrong. I remember Tom Hanks being part of the allegations, but here's the thing. So a lot of the paperwork you've seen, because nobody's fucking seen. Trust me, if it had leaked on the dark web, it would have leaked to the media, because the media is fucking literally like. I guarantee you, every fucking big news media company in the country has been using Tor every fucking day for the last year to check a bunch of different dark web news sites and shit like that, looking for the drop, waiting for the drop. Because all we know right now are associates of Epstein's. I mean, you haven't seen anything incriminating about Tom Hanks, you know, because I know the kind of stuff you've seen. You've seen flight logs and, you know, logs from the resort and stuff like that. But as far as something like actively incriminating, Not quite. But that's why it's so important for the files to be released, right? That's why we need the files and even the tapes, because we need to know who was just hanging out with Epstein because he had a last resort on Little St. John, and who was hanging out with Epstein because part of that cool little resort on Little St. John was, you know, horrible fucking exploitative shit to children. How many people were going down to Little St. John to work on some kind of tax thing with Jeffrey Epstein? And how many people were going down there to fucking work on some kind of child sex trafficking thing with him? No, Justin, because honestly, if you have any like, dude, if you're as well informed on this shit as you claim to be, dude, it is a list that would take you the rest of the day. It would take you the rest of the stream to name off, because you've got a character limit in here and slow mode is on, so you're only going to be able to type one paragraph every 15 seconds. You're only going to be able to get a max of 15 names in one paragraph, and there's probably, I would be shocked if there's not 1,000 people on Epstein's client list. I would be shocked. There's military operators or CIs. There's a lot of organizations. It's actually fun and the stuff. The director of the border security has a lot of stuff. Yeah, I know. I know. Trust me, I know. I know. It's top level military operatives. It's top level political operatives. It's economic people. It's fucking high level social organization kind of people. Anybody who was super fucking well connected had a tie to Epstein. But once again, that doesn't mean that every single one of those people was procuring sex from children. At least not. I'm not willing to commit to that until the Epstein files come out. If you want to say that, Justin, that's fine. All I'm willing to say is that there are currently a lot of people who are suspicious, but not necessarily guilty, right? I think there are a lot. I think anybody who had an association with Epstein is a little bit suspicious, just on a baseline level, until they can be cleared. I heard that the first couple episodes of Naked and Afraid was recorded on Epstein Island. That's why they were named, because they would get essayed by him during recording. So I'm not sure if this is true. What? There's no way. That feels like conspiracy shit. I'm sorry, Anaya. That just feels like conspiracy to me. Dude, there's no way. There's no way they would have let a TV show like that air. There's no fucking way. I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, the type of organization Epstein was running and the type of shit he was getting away with requires you to want to come to him with that kind of shit, or it requires you to indicate to him in some way that you're open to that, right? Because it's too fucked up to just be out there advertising, you know? It's not like you can fucking put ads for it up on the, even on the dark web, you know? It's not like you can fucking advertise it. It's something that, had to have been spread through like word of mouth and shit like that. And I just don't think that a whole fucking show and a whole team worth of producers and participants in the show and everything would allow that to happen. Like, none of the participants ever spoke out, like none of the, I don't know, it just, something's fishy about that to me. I think it's perfectly capable, or I'm sorry, it's perfectly possible for Epstein to have been a horribly fucked up dude who fucked up a lot of lives, destroyed a lot of lives, and abused a lot of people without him having, you know, molested the people on Naked and Afraid. But I don't know, I guess we don't know. It could be a conspiracy, but I've heard that by multiple sources. But there were 3 islands that it was recorded on, and they don't tell us all the islands. Interesting. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I remember watching Naked and Afraid. They don't tell you every single place that they're at, so. You know what's even better than Naked and Afraid, though? Alone. Because I think Alone is actually way more practical. Alone is the most practical of these survival shows that I've seen. Can I just talk about Alone for a second? I know it's got nothing to do with the Epstein files, but let's just talk about Alone for a second. I've been watching Alone a little bit recently, and I'm not, some kind of bushcrafting expert or whatever, but I've always thought it was weird that so many of these survival shows pit people in yeah, I'll talk about it later. I gotta go. Bye.